Oh Canada, our home and, wait, hold on. Did Scott Moe just compliment a Liberal Prime Minister? Did I wake up in an alternate universe? Because folks, the Saskatchewan Premier who spent years treating Ottawa like that annoying neighbor who keeps borrowing your lawnmower just said Mark Carney is much more collaborative than Justin Trudeau. And honestly, I need to sit down for this one. Let me grab my maple syrup, because Canadian politics just got interesting again. So here's the tea, and it's piping hot. Scott Moe, the guy who basically turned fighting with the federal government into a full-time job, sat down with Global Saskatoon and dropped this bombshell. He's saying that working with Prime Minister Mark Carney feels like an actual partnership, not a cage match. Which, if you've been following Canadian politics for the last few years, is like saying the Leafs might actually win a playoff series. Shocking. Unprecedented. Mildly concerning. Now before we dive into this political love fest, let's remember what we're dealing with here. This is the same Scott Moe who fought carbon taxes like they personally insulted his grandmother. The same guy who had Ottawa on speed dial just to argue. So when he starts throwing around words like collaborative, you know something has fundamentally shifted in the space-time continuum of Canadian politics. Here's what Moe told reporter Vanessa Tiberio. He said that under Trudeau, Saskatchewan was constantly dealing with what he called unconsulted policies being imposed on industries that create jobs and wealth in the province. Translation? Ottawa was making rules, Saskatchewan was breaking out the protest signs, and nothing was getting done except giving political commentators like me endless content. It was basically a multi-year disagreement with occasional breaks for passive-aggressive press conferences. But apparently, things are different now. Moe says the challenges facing the country are actually aligning with those facing the province. Which makes sense, because nothing brings Canadians together quite like the threat of American tariffs. It's like how you and your siblings stop fighting when your parents threaten to cancel Disney+. Suddenly, collaboration doesn't seem so bad. Let's talk about what this actually means, because it's bigger than just two politicians being nice to each other for once. The relationship between provincial premiers and the Prime Minister is basically the backbone of how Canada functions. When it's working, things get done. When it's not, well, you get years of constitutional challenges, aggressive tweets, and enough political theatre to make Shakespeare jealous. Under Trudeau's leadership, the federal-provincial relationship with several premiers, not just Moe, was about as smooth as a gravel road in spring. Carbon taxes were the gift that kept on giving, conflict-wise. Environmental regulations felt like federal overreach to resource-rich provinces. And let's not forget the pipeline debates that made family dinners across Canada incredibly awkward. The divide wasn't just political, it was ideological, geographical, and frankly exhausting. Moe specifically mentioned fighting back on carbon taxation and environmental regulations. And fight back he did. Saskatchewan challenged the federal carbon tax all the way to the Supreme Court. They lost, but the effort alone showed just how deep the rift had become. It wasn't just about policy disagreements anymore. It felt personal. It felt like two sides of the country speaking different languages while technically using English. Fast forward to now, and we've got Mark Carney in the big chair. The former Bank of Canada governor, former Bank of England governor, and the guy who probably has more economic credentials than most people have streaming subscriptions. Carney came in with a different approach, and apparently, it's working. Or at least, it's working better than whatever was happening before. So what changed? Well, for starters, Carney isn't coming from the same political background as Trudeau. He's an economist first, a technocrat second, and a politician third. That means his approach to provinces tends to be more pragmatic and less ideological. He's looking at spreadsheets and economic models, not just political optics. And for a premier like Moe, who's constantly worried about Saskatchewan's economic growth, that's refreshing. The timing matters too. Carney stepped into office right as the tariff situation with the United States was heating up. And nothing unites Canadian politicians quite like an external threat. When you're worried about American tariffs potentially devastating your agricultural exports, your energy sector, and your manufacturing base, suddenly those interprovincial squabbles seem less important. It's amazing how collaborative people become when the economic house is potentially on fire. Moe said that the tariff discussions are threatening growth for both the province and the country. Which is diplomatic speak for we're all in the same boat now, and that boat is currently being threatened by unpredictable trade policy from our largest trading partner. Saskatchewan exports billions of dollars worth of goods to the United States. Potash, oil, agricultural products. The province's economy is deeply tied to cross-border trade. So when tariffs get mentioned, Saskatchewan doesn't just pay attention, it panics. And here's where Carney's approach seems to be hitting differently. Instead of imposing policies from Ottawa and expecting provinces to fall in line, he's apparently consulting. Revolutionary concept, I know. He's talking to premiers, understanding their concerns, and trying to build consensus. It's almost like treating provinces as partners instead of children produces better results. Who could have predicted? Now, let's be real for a second. This doesn't mean everything is sunshine and rainbows. Scott Moe is still a Conservative Premier, and Mark Carney is still leading a Liberal government. They're not suddenly best friends planning cottage weekends together. But what this does suggest is that there's been a shift in the working relationship. Less fighting, more talking. Less grandstanding, more problem solving. The question now is whether this collaborative approach will last. Politics is fickle. Today's partner can be tomorrow's opponent with one policy announcement. But for now, the fact that Moe is publicly praising a Liberal Prime Minister is noteworthy. It's not just a small shift, it's a tectonic one. What does this mean for the rest of Canada? Well, if Ottawa and Saskatchewan can work together despite their differences, maybe there's hope for other strained federal-provincial relationships. Alberta's been fighting with Ottawa for years. So has Quebec, though they fight with everyone, so that's less surprising. If Carney's approach can bridge these divides, even partially, Canadian governance might actually start functioning more smoothly. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're Canadians. We're polite, we apologize too much, and we're deeply suspicious of anything that seems to be going too well. One collaborative moment doesn't erase years of tension. It's a start, not a finish line. The broader context here is that Canada is facing real economic challenges. Trade uncertainty, inflation concerns, global instability. These aren't partisan issues. They affect everyone. And maybe, just maybe, that shared reality is forcing politicians to actually work together. Novel concept in today's political climate, but hey, I'll take it. So what's next? Will this collaborative spirit continue? Will other premiers start singing Carney's praises? Or will one contentious policy announcement send us all back to the political thunderdome we've become so accustomed to? Time will tell. But for now, the fact that Scott Moe and Mark Carney are on speaking terms and apparently working together is itself newsworthy. Canadian politics just got a little less predictable, a little more functional, and honestly, that's something worth paying attention to. Because when politicians start collaborating instead of just criticizing, when they start solving problems instead of just scoring political points, that's when real progress becomes possible. And with that, folks, we've covered the surprising new chapter in Canadian federal-provincial relations. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the political love story nobody saw coming, smash that like button, subscribe to Canadian Insights for more updates because trust me, with everything happening in Canadian politics right now, you're going to want to stay informed. Drop a comment below telling me what you think about this new collaborative approach. Is it real change or just temporary peace before the next political storm? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video where we'll break down whatever chaos Canadian politics throws at us next. Stay sharp, Canada.